Hello, everybody. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, giving me just a small slice of your day. You know that I appreciate you. Today is an NBA day. And before you ask me and say, well, Keon, isn't it always an NBA day on your show? Don't you talk about the NBA far too often and more often than any show in the local area? Yes, I do that. But when I say today is an NBA day, I mean from start to finish. It's the NBA Finals. It's game one of the NBA Finals. It's like the second biggest basketball day on the calendar outside of the beginning of March Madness. So unless you have something else that you would like to talk about, then by all means, call the show. 423-800-8949 is our number. That's 423-800-8949. You can do that. We'll talk about something else. But I want to talk about the NBA today because there's so much to talk about. There's a ton going on in this series between the Warriors and the Cavaliers. You've got the rematch storyline. You've got the Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love finally here storyline. You've got, can LeBron James win one in Cleveland, bring Cleveland a championship for the first time since Jim Brown brought them a championship in Cleveland as just professionally on the professional sports level. You know, like most days, I will try and force college football into this show somehow. Even on days where there is nothing to talk about, where we just, like yesterday, I was talking about like the best running backs in college football or in the SEC. It's Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Jalen Hurd. Like, yeah, those guys are great. I mean, but you got to talk about it. Got to talk about college football somehow. Talk about, satellite camps. Satellite camps. Like nobody wants to talk about satellite camps anymore. We're talking about satellite camps. And then Baylor, which, Art Briles apologizing, but not really saying too much because who wants to try and lose money over an apology? Even a well-deserved one. Admitted he made mistakes. I mean, we could talk about all of those things. And that'll happen. Just not in this show today, unless you call that number and make it happen. Otherwise, I'm about to get on a roll and start talking some professional hoops. Okay? Just a fact. But before we jump into all of that, I'd like to tell you about the platforms. Where can you find us and where can we find you? I highly recommend Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can search Hot News Talk Radio or just go to hotnewstalkradio.com and click on any of our social media links. Take you right to those different places where you can listen to the show on Facebook. You can stream all of our local shows on YouTube. And you can also stream us on Hot News Talk Radio itself. We stream 24/7, 365. You can also check us out in the TuneIn Radio app. Again, that's the TuneIn Radio app. Search that in your favorite app store. Give us a search inside the TuneIn Radio app and a favorite. Press play. You'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. So I want to talk about the NBA Finals. Before I get to the NBA Finals, let me tell you a little bit about how it is that I got here, because I love basketball. It is my favorite sport to watch at the moment. I become disenchanted with football. When football season rolls around, I'm back in there. I'm back in it. But in terms of my base of knowledge, the NBA is that I was a military brat, Army brat growing up. My dad moved around a lot, but we spent the most of our time in San Antonio. And I don't know if you know anything about San Antonio, Texas, but there's only three things. There's only three things that we like in San Antonio, Texas. That's high school football, that's food, and that's the San Antonio Spurs. Those are the only three things that you like. If you don't like those things, you're an alien, basically. You don't belong in San Antonio. Go somewhere else. Go to Austin. Get out of here. Get to Houston. So I ended up being very obsessed with basketball because the Spurs were so good, and that's all anybody would talk about was just basketball all the time. Like you listen to the local radio show in San Antonio, and what you're gonna get during the heart of basketball season is basketball. And what you're going to get during the heart of football season is basketball. And what you're going to get during the heart of baseball season is basketball talk. Like, that's all that happened. So for me, this is like the most natural thing on earth to do, is to stand here and talk about NBA basketball. But I also have to be aware that where I am is some great football. We've got great high school football around here. We've got great high school football rivalries. We've got great college football around here, great college football rivalries as well. UTC is on the come up. Tennessee is coming back, bringing football back to Knoxville again. Georgia looking to take it to another level. Alabama continues to dominate. And Auburn does what Auburn does, which is just kind of hang around and then win a title when you're not looking. You know, that's just really how they do it. But the ability to talk about basketball today, I am happy because I listen to all the other shows. I read all the other articles. I'm just happy that everybody's talking about basketball today. So I'm not alone finally. I'm finally in the majority with everyone. Everyone's got an opinion on this series, and I'm just going to come right out and tell you, because I don't think that I need to do the I wait the day of the pick to make my pick, and I'm going to make it dramatic because somehow me telling you my opinion on this series makes a difference on what's actually going to happen in the series. I'll give you my opinion because I love making opinions, and that's kind of what this whole thing is about. And I'd love for you to make an opinion as well. That's 423-800-8949 if you want to call and make an opinion. But I think the Warriors are going to win this series, and I think they're going to win it in 5 games. I honestly believe that, because Cleveland is capable of the lapses that they have. Cleveland, let's backtrack a little bit, right? Cleveland should have swept Toronto. Let's start with that premise. The Cavaliers should have swept the Raptors. They didn't, because they're capable of the kind of mental lapses that lets a Raptors team with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, who weren't shooting threes really well, and Kyle Lowry, who wasn't really shooting anything very well, to beat you in games 3 and 4 of a series, and not just kind of beat you. Like, if they just kind of snuck a 6-point victory past you, yeah, that'd be one thing. They didn't kind of beat you. They stomped you twice. Yes, I understand the energy in Toronto. Yes, I understand the building. But you didn't show up to both of those games. And I'm telling you right now, if Cleveland has a single quarter like that, not a game, not a half, if they have a single quarter, I'll be even more definitive. If they have a single 8-minute stretch like that, the Golden State Warriors are going to blow them out of whatever gym they're playing in, whether it's Oracle or Quicken Loans. They will smoke that team. And I think that Cleveland is very prone to those lapses. You see it all the time. You saw it in Detroit. They swept the Pistons, but there was I think it was game 3 that they won by a single point. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. It's interesting, too, because you'd think that having superior 3-point shooting means that you just wipe every team off the face of the earth, which the best 3-point shooting team in these playoffs have been, surprisingly. Like, if you go look at the numbers, Cleveland has been shooting threes at a outrageous clip. They're the best 3-point shooting team statistically. Now, I think we all know what the reality of that is, right? Because you've got J.R. Smith. If J.R. Smith is well defended and not shooting well, J.R. Smith will not just shoot you out of a game. He could shoot you out of a series. The J.R. Smith could shoot you out of a series. But J.R. Smith gets some open looks and gets going. Even when you're defending that guy, you can't stop that guy. And so much of it seems like you play good defense and he's just taking bad threes, like fading away off of one leg kind of stuff, like Kobe kind of stuff. And you're just like, what are you practicing this? Really? Cavaliers have a puncher's chance in this series. I'm not going to act like they don't stand a chance, but they are capable of the kind of lapses that get you blown out by the Warriors specifically. Because if you lose Steph Curry for 4 or 5 minutes, that could easily be 9, 12 points. 9 to 12 points, and you're done. There is no coming back from that. That team is like a bunch of sharks. They just frenzy feed on whatever is happening. Steph starts popping off with 4 or 5 threes. It's over. It's over. Okay, like I want to start and just set the record there. That's my opinion on this series. We don't have to wait dramatically until the end. They're winning this series and they're winning it in 5 games. And I understand that people are talking about, the storylines are that you want LeBron to win this more and that Cleveland is the underdog. No team that's got LeBron James on it is an underdog. He is the most complete basketball player on the planet. He is the best. If you want to talk about a guy that can do it all, play all 5 positions on the floor, incredible court vision, leader of his team, going to his 6th straight NBA finals, no team that's got him on it is an underdog. But this isn't an even matchup either. And the thing is, despite the 3-point shooting that Cleveland has been doing that statistically on paper is better than what Golden State is doing, they are doing it against a weaker Eastern Conference, and B, they're doing it differently than how the Warriors do it. The Warriors are able to dribble into some threes. Guys are able to dribble and off the bounce shoot shots, and it's mostly Steph, but other guys do it too. When Clay was going supernova, he definitely did it in that game 6 against the Thunder. But you have in Cleveland a great catch and shoot team, which is more of a traditional NBA 3-point shooting style. That you get the ball to the open guy. It's a catch and shoot situation. If he's open or if he's got time to get the shot off, he'll knock it down. What you can't have is Steph's got the ball and you've just got a mismatch. If for some reason, and I would do this if I were Golden State, if for some reason Kevin Love ends up on Steph Curry, I would just destroy him. I would keep going at Kevin Love until you can't play Kevin Love. Because you already can't play that guy in fourth quarters, right? Like, this. Like, just squash him. Whatever guy is on Kevin Love, we just run pick and roll until we force Cleveland to not play Kevin Love. He is such a liability, you have to pull him. And I'd love to see what adjustment Tyronn Lue is going to make for that, because I don't know that you have one. Okay, one of the best lineups in basketball right now, the Golden State Warriors death lineup. You know what the best lineup right now in the postseason has been for Cleveland? Been LeBron James, obviously, Tristan Thompson, Iman Shumpert, Matthew Dellavedova. I forget who their 5th is. I wrote it down, and then I didn't open my notebook, and it's in my bag still. So there you are. But either way, that's surprising, right? You think the best lineup would be the one that's got Kyrie and Love in it. It's not. They're not in that lineup. And this lineup that's supposed to be the defensive lineup, this is the lineup that's been knocking down the threes. This is the lineup that's been shooting the best in the whole postseason. And it's interesting because that's the team that Golden State beat last year. Basically. Now, part of it, too, is you're not as deep. If you lose Love and you lose Irving, you're just not as deep. Picking up Channing Frye is going to help you stretch the floor a little bit as well. That kind of stretch 4 situation. But I can't imagine that this is a team that the Warriors are looking at and you're scared in any kind of way. Their best lineup is the team you beat last year. Their best 3-point shooting lineup is the team you beat last year. And they're not particularly offensively adept. And then the offensively adept guys, those guys don't defend anything. For an entire game, I don't think Kyrie Irving can defend Steph Curry because I don't think Kyrie Irving is particularly mentally engaged that way. He's not wired that way. Some guys are wired to be defensive guys. You look at Houston, you see Patrick Beverley. That dude is a defensive dude. Like, Patrick Beverley is a hound. He's not wired for offense. If he's open, shoots a 3, he could make it. He could make it, right? Yeah, but if you're looking at at defense, that guy's wired to defend. Russell Westbrook is wired to defend as well. The issue with Russell is that he'll gamble. He'll jump passes, and then if he misses, then, you got a wide open shot. He's a gambler, but Russell Westbrook is wired defensively. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, there's guys that are wired defensively. Kyrie Irving, he's not wired defensively, folks. Not even sort of. Like not even a little bit. He's capable of being engaged when the moment calls for it, but overall, no, I wouldn't say so. And that's going to be to the detriment of Cleveland. And I don't see how Cleveland wins more than one game, and they probably win their one game in Cleveland in front of the home crowd. Probably game 3, if I had to hazard a guess. Is it foolish? Is it crazy to go out speculating now like what's going to happen? Yeah, but that's also part of the fun of it. I'm not believing that like I'm just the basketball wizard or know-it-all here, but what I will say is, just looking at the numbers, I don't look at this and see how you can see Cleveland coming out on top of here. And they have a chance, and I'd love to watch the game and break it down for you tomorrow, but I'm just excited, so we're jumping again today. You're listening to AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I was reading about James Harden today. James Harden was on Sirius XM today. He was on a show, and he was talking about who the Rockets want to target in free agency, and he said his big free agent target would be his former Thunder teammate, Kevin Durant. James Harden would love to target Kevin Durant and have him come down to Houston so they can play together again, which would be incredible. And also, it's amazing because we never put that connection together. We never thought about Houston actually being in the talks for this year, being in a situation to actually acquire Kevin Durant. But when you think about how good of friends James Harden and Kevin Durant are, it makes sense. My question is, why on earth would Kevin Durant ever go to Houston to play with James Harden? If the criticism of the guy you are already playing with, Russell Westbrook, is that he's not a pass-first guy, he looks for his own shot first, he's kind of selfish, he's what's holding you back, you would leave that guy to go play with James Harden, who offensively you could describe in all the same ways, and then defensively, like I just told you, at least Russell Westbrook is wired for defense. He's not a bad defender. He's just not a smart defender. He'll jump passes. He'll jump passing lanes, and when he misses big. That's Russell Westbrook. James Harden is missing because he ain't even trying. Like, he's not even out here trying to play defense. But in fairness, if you want to go, there'll be plenty of shots to go around because Mike D'Antoni is the coach. And there's plenty of shooting that's going to happen there. You will fire a lot of shots, and you will fire a lot of shots very, very quickly. Your numbers are going to be like steroids, okay? It's just going to be steroids for your stats. So you could go to Houston and have a good time, but I'm not going to Houston just because James Harden asked me to. James Harden with no leadership mentality whatsoever. Me, I, James Harden. That same James Harden? But at least I know Russell Westbrook, that guy's got my back. The Russell Westbrook would run through a wall for you if you're his teammate. And if you're not his teammate, bleep you. Right? You would leave that guy for James Harden. Not on your life. I highly doubt that. Now, James Harden can go ahead and pitch it, and I think that pitch might have more of a chance and makes, quite frankly, far more sense than the Kevin Durant to Golden State thing that we've heard about. I don't know. I don't see Kevin Durant being the guy that's like, yeah, I lost to this team that's really, really good. I'm going to go join them. Because he's not in that desperate part of his career yet where you just go around ring chasing. He's still in his prime. Kevin Durant is still a very, very great basketball player. He's not on the downside of his prime. Like, if LeBron started running around to go ring chasing, if for some reason he thought he couldn't get it done in Cleveland, decided to go back to Miami, or decided to go somewhere else, like, that would make sense. I don't think that's plausible either. because of the big stink he made about coming back to Cleveland, wrote a giant essay, all of that stuff. But it would make sense. It would be somewhat feasible. Kevin Durant going to Golden State? Not so much. And Kevin Durant going to Houston? More feasible than Kevin Durant going to Golden State. But I don't see how it makes any sense to leave Russell Westbrook to play with James Harden. They've got the same criticisms on the offensive side of the ball, and at least Russell Westbrook enjoys playing defense. You're listening to AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. More NBA Finals talk next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. You and I know that real men are prepared for anything. You know what I'm talking about because you're a Take Charge guy. Everyone's talking about Grimm's Tactical, featuring first responder gear, survival gear and equipment, Voodoo Tactical, Leapers. For personal protection, Grimm's Tactical features non-lethal personal protection gear, AR/AK parts, knives, canning and dehydrating equipment. If you hike and camp, Grimm's Tactical has got what you're looking for, bags and packs. And for your side piece, concealed carry holsters for men and women. Plus, Grimm's Tactical carries a wide variety of freeze-dried food. Wise Mountain House, Backpacker's Pantry, Grimm's Tactical, where law enforcement shops, Safari Lane, Blackhawk, 511. First responder gear at Grimm's Tactical. Grimm's Tactical, 8115 East Brainerd Road, in the shopping center next to the Walmart Marketplace. Look for the Mighty Mini U-Haul office. Grimm's Tactical is right next door. Grimm's Tactical, 8115 East Brainerd Road.
Just imagine not a cloud in the sky. It's the perfect day on the water. You could be enjoying boating with friends or wetting your line to catch a fish. Or maybe it's just you and that special someone on a sunset cruise. All of this without the hassle of owning a boat, with your membership in the Carefree Boat Club. As you relax and spend time with the ones you care about, you have the peace of mind of knowing you're a member of the Carefree Boat Club. Weekends were made for relaxing and being hassle-free, just like the Carefree Boat Club. Let us take the worry out of boat ownership. No matter if you enjoy fishing, skiing, cruising the lake, or maybe even an overnight adventure, we have a boat for you at the Carefree Boat Club. Start making memories today. Call 423-619-7156 to join. Boating season is here, so do not wait. Call now, 423-619-7156. Carefree Boat Club is located at the Harbor Lights Marina, 9718 Hickson Pike.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
A few lingering showers will continue through the nighttime, diminishing after midnight. Some late fog, muggy lows into the upper 60s. For Friday, another hot, humid day with a few isolated afternoon storms. Highs 88 to 90 with showers and storms more likely for the weekend. Highs into the 80s. Get ready for Riverbend, June 10th through the 18th, featuring discounted admission now at Area Kangaroo Express and Circle K locations. Save $15 off the gate price. For more, riverbendfestival.com. And I'm Sports 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A man was shot on Wednesday afternoon on Windsor Street. The police found him and took him to the hospital. The suspect is described as a black male driving a gold or silver SUV of an unknown make and model. The CPD Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. A Chattanooga police officer crashed his car into a tree this morning. It happened at Tunnel Boulevard and Shalford Road. Police say that wet roads are believed to be the cause of the crash. The officer is okay, and nobody else was injured. A residential fire on Orchard Knob began at 1:30 a.m. this morning. Officials say all the occupants of the building were evacuated. No further information is available at this time. The Billy Hawk cold case murder trial continued yesterday and is going to continue today as well. His ex-wife gave testimony yesterday saying that she noticed a barrel on Hawk's boat one day when they were on Lake Chickamauga. Johnny Salyer's body was found in a barrel that washed up on a boat dock on Rocky Point Road on June the 3rd, 1981. If it's going on the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Since we're having an NBA day, I will just take this random moment here to point out that I'm a Wizards fan, and we won the title that matters. Title of the heart. John Wall wins the NBA Cares Community Assist Award. So congratulations to John Wall, my main guy, John Wall, who is an underrated player in the NBA. There you go. I'm going to get off the soapbox now. That's it. That's all that there is. But just NBA cares and stuff. I came across a very interesting story. The reason why I brought up John Wall is because the story does involve the Wizards. We're talking about, before the break, possible landing spots for Kevin Durant, because James Harden, his teammate, was on Sirius XM radio and talked about how the Rockets were going to target Kevin Durant as a free agent this summer, which, as a landing spot, is one of the more plausible ones. Well, one of the things that's been happening over the past couple of years has been one of the more implausible spots that Kevin Durant is liable to go to. And when I say implausible, I should just say darn near impossible, right? But Kevin Durant is not going to go to Washington, D.C. and be a Wizard because he grew up in D.C., because I lived in D.C. Was I a Wizards fan? Yes, I was, because Michael Jordan was there. And when you're a kid and you see that Michael Jordan is a Wizard, that's just the coolest thing ever. And because I was just I barely remember the 96 finals over the Utah Jazz. I barely remember that. So the chance to see Michael Jordan again come back and go, oh, his airness is back. And then you see him, and sure, he's not quite his airness. There's just not quite a lot of jump left in those legs. Still, Michael Jordan was on the court for the Wizards. And people forget about the 40-point game that Michael Jordan put up and the 50-point game that Michael Jordan put up as a Washington Wizard. Like, you remember that those games were bad, but you forget that he had a few brilliant moments in that time period. And it was great to watch. And he brought that team to the postseason as an old man. Okay. And, that brought me into Wizards fandom. I was a Wizards fan, but prior to that, you didn't grow up a Wizards fan. You didn't grow up like everybody in DC loves the Redskins. Okay. If you're in DC right now, the Nationals are kind of taking over. You grew up with the Orioles, though. You love the Orioles. It's Orioles or Nats for you. People didn't grow up just loving the Wizards. It's a transient enough town that where the basketball team is bad, and it was always horrible, you just root for whoever. Okay. So Kevin Durant, I find it very hard to believe that Kevin Durant had that same connection to Washington, D.C. and the Wizards the same way that LeBron has to Cleveland, especially since Cleveland drafted LeBron as the hometown hero. Okay, LeBron going back to Cleveland makes a ton of sense. KD going back to D.C., that doesn't make any sense at all. But no, people are going to start this hashtag KD to D.C. movement. I wish it would stop. I wish it would go away. You're making fools and clowns out of all of us. Just make it stop. But there's a rapper, a local DC rapper, who has raised money to attract Kevin Durant to the Wizards. Okay. He wants to raise $20 million. $20 million, right? So this seems like a plausible thing to do, I guess. If you can get enough people excited about it to go for it, then by all means. But here's the issue. Here's the issue. He's put some money in. He's raised some money himself. You know how much money he has left to go? $19,999,994. My friend, if you're going to raise money and you want to raise $20 million, you're going to have to kick a lot more money into that bucket than $6. He has raised $6. Yeah, I'm not following you anywhere. You don't believe in this either. If all you've managed to raise so far is $6 whole, yeah, I'm not following you off of that cliff too. And this is on top of the fact that KD to DC needs to die as a concept. It's not happening. It is not happening. And to show how much people believe that this is actually happening, $6. You've raised $6. You couldn't be bothered to put at least triple digits of money into your own $20 million situation. Get out of here, man. Get out of here, honestly. Nobody wants to hear that. Leave. Good grief. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I gotta tell you, one of my favorite shows to listen to, because I think that, honestly, I don't always agree with him, but he is one of the best in the business, Colin Cowherd. I love to listen to The Herd. Colin Cowherd is a brilliant radio host, absolutely interesting, and he does a great job of taking the ideas of sports and going beyond sports with it. That's more or less what the job description is anyhow. If you stand behind this microphone and talk pure sports, pure game analysis, I don't know if you're doing the job right. Because you're talking to human beings, and you are a human being. Relate to people. Get into people's lives. Okay? The best comedians tell comedy that are about things that you're aware of. There's a reason why comedians tell a lot of airplane jokes. Because everybody's been on a plane. It's something that we all can relate to. So get into people's lives. Don't just sit here and give me pure in-game analysis. How boring. Get out of here. And I think Colin Cowherd does a great job of getting into why things are a certain way. That sort of economical, sociological perspective. It's very, very fascinating. But I'm going to disagree with something that he was saying on his show today. I caught the last hour of the show while I was driving around, and one of the things that he was saying, and actually he's been saying it for weeks, is that the Warriors never had to struggle for anything. It all came too easy for them. And I think we've been proven time and time again that that's not necessarily the case. That's not necessarily the case. Right? Like, the reason why we thought the Warriors were going to lose the last series, and when I say we, I really just mean him and Whitlock. The reason why they thought the Warriors were going to lose the last series when they were down 3-1 is they've never been through adversity before. They won't know how to overcome. Well, they overcame it. Where did they learn that from? Because I do believe you have to overcome adversity. But I do think that you need to not narrow the timeline to what best fits your point. Okay? That, like LeBron's timeline of struggle, you get to go all the way back to when he was in Cleveland and couldn't make it through and got swept in the finals. And then he goes to Miami and loses year one and then wins 2 championships and then loses again. And then comes back to Cleveland and he's trying to go back up the mountain again. That is a great story about how struggle can take you to the top. Okay, that is a great example. But you look at the Golden State Warriors, and every single time he tells the story of how the Warriors became successful, it's like that story happened overnight. You hired Steve Kerr, you went to the title, you won it. You got everything too fast. Well, Colin, the Warriors existed previously to Steve Kerr being the head coach. And to talk about the Warriors, and specifically Steph Curry and his struggles, you have to go back to college. Steph Curry wasn't recruited very well out of college. Ended up having to go to Davidson. Went to Davidson. Killed it. was taken in middle-ish of the first round of the draft, and the Timberwolves should have probably taken it much higher than that. But, they didn't because they're the Timberwolves. Steph had to deal with ankle injuries early in the league. It looked like it was just going to derail his career. He was never going to be the guy because he could never stay healthy. He had to overcome Monte Ellis, which I think is a thing that you have to overcome because that guy loves to shoot the ball, and he's not too interested in passing it back to anybody. And then Klay Thompson is drafted. He's on the team, and you've got Curry and you've got Thompson together on one team. They didn't instantly go to the title. Mark Jackson's their coach, and that man couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag in the last 2 minutes of a fourth quarter. And they had to overcome that, the growing pains of learning how to be a great team. They had the pieces together, but they couldn't get over the hump. And they were a team that was winning 50 games. Steve Kerr comes in, brings in his staff, and they were a team that was winning 50 games that were clearly capable of winning 70 because they did. And it was only once that change got made that the greatness that was in that team, the way that they were put together, got unlocked. Steve Kerr was able to make late game adjustments that Mark Jackson simply refused to make. And not just late game adjustments from game to game that Mark Jackson just refused to make. Mark Jackson would make some adjustments, like in the series that they played against the Spurs and pushed the Spurs all the way to 6 or 7 games, I believe. I want to say 2013. Don't quote me on that necessarily. That's in that series. By playing Harrison Barnes at the 4, Steve Kerr almost showed flashes of the early small ball lineup. He just didn't have the experimental gusto to actually implement it. This is a team that has struggled. It's just where you start the timeline matters. You can't cut it off to be what you want it to say. It's like the government and that unemployment statistic. The government unemployment statistic is never accurate. Let me say that again. The government unemployment statistic is never accurate because it never, ever, ever counts people who were looking for work and got frustrated looking for work and gave up looking for work. Okay, that is never counted in that stat. And as a result, the stat's going to say, look, unemployment is at a reasonable level. Like Obama runs that out there all the time. Look at how unemployment is at a reasonable level. But you like the way that stat looks because there's an entire group of people who are actually unemployed that you're not counting. There's an actual number of years that the Golden State Warriors struggled that you don't count. So you get to make your point about how they don't struggle and how they don't know what struggle is and how they're just like millennials. Even though millennials struggle too. Their struggles are simply different. And we can talk about the quality of the struggle. I am open to the fact as a person who could be classified as a millennial, even though deep down inside I'm an old person, a curmudgeon, and I don't like people. You could classify me just by date of birth as a millennial. You could say that the quality of our struggles are not the same as those who came before us, right? Like the struggle of the baby boomers and the struggles of those who fought in World War II, fought in World War I, the struggles of the greatest generation. I'm open to the idea that the quality of our struggles, yeah, they had it harder than us. But everybody sits down and acts like millennials never struggle. Never struggle. Colin Cowherd is on the air telling a telling story about how there was a point where he wasn't following his dream. He was doing sales and he couldn't live with that. He was poor and life was hard. Well, I mean, all right. Millennials are graduating now with more student debt than anyone ever has in the history of this nation. Like, we just have more debt and it hangs over your head and it hangs over your head. And then the jobs that you went to school to learn, they're not hiring because the economy, it's not great. If you don't call that struggle, then I don't know what that is. They're not getting it. It's not the lack of jobs because they're lazy. In a lot of cases, the jobs that you went to school to learn how to do, they're not there. Okay? And that's a struggle. When you've got $20, $40,000 of student loan debt. Some people in the hundreds of thousands of student loans hanging over your head. That's a struggle. This idea that millennials just, don't struggle. We just coast through life. Just trust fund babies. You know, we're not all Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, a few of us got rich really quickly, about the same amount of people that win the lottery. But we're not all Mark Zuckerberg. We're not all Biz Stone. We're not all whoever that guy that created Uber is. Most of us are struggling. But as long as you get to define what struggle is, you can downplay what other people do. You can downplay how other people feel. And it takes away from the empathy that you have for other people. It just does. And so you're going to look at the Warriors and how they play is different. And how they play mathematically gives them an advantage. But again, don't act like there was no struggle there. That analogy doesn't work. There's plenty of struggle on that team. If even you just go on the individual level and just go Steph. Because overcoming ankle injuries when it looked like your career is just going to be done. Okay. The reason why that guy is severely underpaid is because he took whatever contract the Warriors were going to give him because he wasn't sure his ankles were going to hold up, and they weren't either. You're listening to AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. I don't like it when Hannity does it either. Hannity cherry picks stats. Cherry picks numbers. And everybody does it. Okay, like you try and be non-biased and fair, but it's not impossible, but it's very difficult. Your bias is going to creep in, and your bias is going to affect whatever numbers it is that you prefer. And honestly, whether you like the Cavaliers or you like the Warriors, that's going to say a lot about you. I really like the Warriors. I prefer them to Cleveland. If you can do something efficiently and do something more efficiently, why wouldn't you? I mean, we talk about the Golden State Warriors and about them breaking the game. If you can do something more efficiently, why wouldn't you? If you're at work and you're doing your job, are you really going to do it in a way that's less efficient and slower in the name of old time's sake? Really? You would? Because I wouldn't. I've never done a job that way in my life. I try and figure out the fastest, easiest way to do that thing. And let's get it done. Right? Let's get more stuff done. Let's be more productive. Okay? Work smarter, not harder. And a lot of these guys complaining about Golden State, complaining about the way the Warriors play, you are literally campaigning for playing the game in a more difficult way because that's the way the game was just always played. And I'm like, no. The Warriors are making the game easier. Like 3 is worth more than 2. That's math. And not just any math, first grade math, kindergarten math. If you've ever counted on your fingers before, you know this to be a fact. Why on earth would you ever do it the more difficult way? If you're trying to drive somewhere around town, what you're going to take the longer way because it's the way you've always taken? I used to go to Southern Adventist University. And, you know, we'd always hang out at Hamilton Mall. That was our place to hang out. That was the place we loved to be. Just stuff in the mall to do. Walk around in the mall. Whatever. So me and my buddies, we'd always, pile in the car, and then you'd have to take Apison Pike all the way up towards Bonnie Oaks, and then get on 75, and then go to Hamilton, exit off on Shallowford, go towards Hamilton, right? Well, here's the deal. They built a wonderful road. They built Volkswagen Road. Volkswagen cuts right through everything. It's like 10 minutes faster. Now, we could all pile in the car and drive to Hamilton the way we always did it, just for old time's sake. But what if we just drove the fastest way to the mall? You'd spend more time at the mall. Spend more time hanging out. And that school's got a curfew. So you hang out longer, you take the fast way back. You're not late. It's one of those things that baffles me, that we would rather do things the old way, but only in sports. We don't do this in real life. Nobody ever does things the slower, less efficient way just because. There's some reason why you do it that way. But typically, in your job, when you travel, with your family, with your planning, when you budget, do you want to spend more money or less money? You want to be more efficient with your money. That's all the Warriors are doing. They're just being more efficient with the shots. Threes are worth more, so you take more threes. Thanks for listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Thank you for joining me today, making me a small slice of your day. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. Free Talk Live. Next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Do you feel better